Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's story, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories and lessons you won't want to miss. The night started like any other weekend gathering. A mix of friends, co-workers, and acquaintances at a fancy dinner party hosted by one of my wife's colleagues. Soft music played, the lights were dim, and laughter bounced around the room. I was leaning against the bar, chatting with a friend from work, when I noticed Lily, my wife, across the room. She looked incredible, wearing a red silk dress that caught every flicker of light. But it wasn't just her beauty that made my stomach twist. It was her behavior. She was standing too close to a man I didn't recognize. Every time she laughed, her hand brushed his arm. His posture radiated confidence. Hers radiated invitation. Inside me, something snapped. A mix of anger, disappointment, and disbelief. I'd seen this before. Lingering touches, secretive smiles, whispers disguised as jokes. I forced myself to breathe, to stay calm, to not make a scene. But the more I watched, the clearer it became. The woman I loved wasn't the same one who used to cling to me, like I was her whole world. When I finally approached, she looked startled, but quickly plastered on a grin. "Hey, babe," she said cheerfully. "This is Nick. He's new at work." Nick turned with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, the kind of smile you give when you know you've crossed a line and don't care. "Nice to meet you," he said, extending his hand. I shook it. Firm, cold, deliberate. Lily giggled, resting her hand lightly on his shoulder. "Relax," she teased. "We were just talking about how harmless flirting keeps things fun." The people around laughed, thinking she was joking. But I didn't. I looked at her, really looked at the smirk, the arrogance, the way she basked in the attention. I smiled calmly and said, "You're right, Lily. Being single will probably be fun too." The laughter died instantly. Her smile froze. Her hand dropped from Nick's arm and her face went pale. "Wait, what do you mean by single?" she asked, her voice trembling. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I turned and walked away, leaving her frozen in the middle of the room, surrounded by people who suddenly didn't know where to look. I could hear her faint voice calling after me, "Jason, come on. It was just a joke." It wasn't a joke, not to me. That night was the final straw in a marriage built on second chances she never deserved. When we got home, the silence between us was louder than any argument we'd ever had. She tried to act casual. "You're really upset about that?" she said, tossing her purse onto the couch. "I was just being friendly." I stared at her and said quietly, "Friendly is saying hello. What you did was disrespect." Her smirk faltered. "Oh, come on, you're overreacting." I laughed softly, shaking my head. "No, Lily, I'm finally reacting. There's a difference." I walked to the bedroom, grabbed a suitcase, and started packing. Panic finally crept into her voice. "You can't be serious, Jason. You're leaving over a harmless joke?" I zipped my bag shut, looking her straight in the eyes. "You called flirting harmless fun," I said. "Then being single will be harmless too." Her confidence shattered. "Jason, please don't do this," she whispered, tears welling. I was done. I had spent years forgiving late-night texts, suspicious girls' nights, her constant need for validation from other men. Every time she said, "It's nothing serious, don't be jealous." It wasn't jealousy I felt. It was betrayal disguised as innocence. I walked past her without another word, leaving her sobbing in the doorway. The slam of the door behind me felt like freedom, the sound of finally choosing myself. Over the next few days, she bombarded me with calls and messages, begging, promising she'd change. I didn't respond. Each message felt like the same lie I had heard 100 times before. She didn't miss me. She missed knowing I would always take her back. The truth? She had stopped respecting me long before that party. That night just gave me the courage to stop pretending we had something worth saving. Weeks later, a mutual friend called. "She's a mess," he said. "Won't talk to anyone. Keeps asking if you're really gone for good." I told him the truth. I had left that night and never looked back. Once you see your partner laughing with another man the way she used to laugh with you, you can't unsee it. It changes something deep inside. A month later, she showed up at my door, exhausted, makeup smudged, voice trembling. "Jason, please. I was stupid. I took you for granted. I'll do anything to fix this." I listened, arms crossed. "You want to fix this?" I asked softly. "You can't fix what you destroyed by choice." She broke down, grabbing my hand, but I gently pulled it away. "You didn't lose me at that party," I said. "You lost me every time you laughed at my trust." I closed the door for good. No anger, just peace. In the months that followed, I rebuilt myself. New city, new job, a quiet apartment where I could breathe. Sometimes I thought back to that night at the party, to her face going pale when I said, "Being single will be fun too." That moment, that silence, said more than any argument ever could. Now, when people ask what happened, I just smile. She thought flirting was harmless fun. I thought self-respect was too. And honestly, I've never felt more alive since I chose myself.